Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you for joining today's webinar. You should see a Q&A box directly on your screen where you can submit questions for today's experts. Later today, you'll be sent a link to the on-demand recording. And now I'll hand it over to today's presenters.
Yeah, hi, thank you very much. Good morning, I guess, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're coming from. My name is Aaron Keenan. I am one of the principal product managers for SevOne. And with us, we've got Deva as well. Hi, Deva.
Hey, you guys.
Great. So today we're going to talk about our latest release, what's new in IBM SevOne 7.1, which I always seem to tie my tongue when I say that. It's a tongue twister. So I'm very excited. Dave and I are very excited to go through and show you what this latest release has. And I'm going to cover the first half. And so you don't have to listen to me go on the whole entire webinar. I'm going to pass it over to Deva around the second half to talk a little bit more about our integrations and such. So buckle up. Let's get started. So we know networking, observability, and observability in networks has changed greatly. Operating networks has changed greatly as well. When I first started, software defined really wasn't a thing, but we've made huge changes in the way that networks are managed, controlled, and observed over the last few years. We've gone from a static type of network where maybe you had a pet name for your switch or other things, into these dynamic networks where things are controlled through software. Things are ephemeral. Things are coming up and down. A lot more parameters, a lot more data, and a lot more complexity for that data. And so the tools that you've needed really have changed over the last few years. The velocity of data, for example, has increased quite a bit, as well as a variety of data. So that moving to SD-WAN, SDN, and Wi-Fi, very, very dynamic. We've got a shift to hybrid cloud and SaaS. So now not only do you have to worry about the networks inside, but inside of your data centers and others, but you also have to worry about the networks on the outside, including the internet, which has become kind of part of the corporate LAN in a way. And being able to observe and ensure that you're giving the performance both internally and out externally to your, for example, SaaS applications is extremely important. And again, I mentioned the fragmented visibility and control. We've got all these new tools. We've got a little bit of the old, a little bit of the new, some of the legacy, some of the software-defined stuff. We've got tons of tools to manage, operate, and observe that. And that all of these problems have been compounded by labor shortages. So we've noticed in talking to our customers and analysts that there's a lot less it's called pure networking people coming in network operations. It just seems a little more difficult to get people into the field, and that is compounding all the issues that we've been seeing. So with that said, kind of setting the stage and managing and observing networks, we with SevOne 7, we've come out with these three pillars really that I think are driving a lot of the work that we've done coming up to 7, but especially in IBM SevOne 7.0 and ahead. So we want to understand if it's the network, the app, or the network. That's the classic question. We want to be able to extend our visibility into the cloud, and we've been doing that over the last several releases. And Dave is going to talk to us a little bit about some of the enhancements we've made in this particular release. And then data's great, but filling up hard drives is not something that we aspire to do. We want to actually do things with that data. So being able to use that performance data, the alerts, that sort of things to drive action is extremely important. And I think that talks to labor shortages and things like that. We need to do more with less. And so with that said, let's talk a little bit about that application-centric pillar that I just mentioned, one out of the three. So really our goal with SevOne 7.0 and ahead in 7.1 as well is to be able to provide context, application context to the network data that's coming in. So we all know, our life is filled with IP addresses, and IPv6 has made that a lot more fun too. What we've done is we've started to take the data that we've collected and provide context there. So for example, with an IP address, we can understand who, for example, that network provider is, that through BGP information, we can get the ASN, and from the ASN, we understand the network. So, turning to 216.58.208.113, I'm sure you guys know all the IP addresses on the top of your head for the important routers, but not everybody does. So, being able to provide that extra context is super helpful. But not only, ASN and being able to get the organization or the network, the owner of the network, but we also have the country, and we can bring that right down to the application. So, from an application IP, the insight that we've added, we've always had the IP, but the insight we've added now is ASN, organization, the company, the country, and right down the application. And like I said, we do that through BGP and BGP enrichment. So we can get the country of origin and the ASN, and that gives us the network. And then for the SaaS applications, this is pretty awesome, and this is new for us. We have about nearly, I think it's over 5,000 SaaS application fingerprints included in SevOne now. So we're able to determine just from your flow traffic, for example, what applications you've got passing through the network. There's no DPI, no taps, no spans. So it's, let's say, a very flexible, inexpensive way to deploy intelligence within your network. And again, we do that through flow. So no need to set up anything, no need to configure anything, just turn on your flow, we consume it, and we'll tell you automatically which applications are coming into your network. This as well, this is pretty exciting. So this is a first for us. We're leveraging what we call eBPF, and that's the extended Berkeley packet filtering. And essentially what this allows us is a low-level view into a Kubernetes environment, and that could be OpenShift or it could be Kate. And it allows us to take, well, let me take a step back. Actually, this was a project that was shared between SevOne, IBM Research, and Red Hat, and we contributed to NetObserve operator. And essentially what that allows us to do is, it's a one-click deploy. You deploy an operator in the OpenShift or a Kubernetes environment. It's producing IPFix, which is NetFlow inside your Kubernetes environment. And from there, we can see all of the applications, the services, and things that are running within that cluster. We can give you a per conversation network latency separate from the application latency. And we could tell you things like, how much traffic for each application is passing through, or each service. So, it used to be a scary black box that kind of sat there and the network guys would just go, you deal with it. Now we have the visibility into those Kubernetes environments in between nodes in those clusters and between clusters themselves. And finally here, query by application. So we've brought the application up as a first-class citizen in the product. So you can see on the top right there, or sorry, top left of the report that we're showing, we've got Netflix, Instagram, and WebEx. Before, when people call up to the help desk, nobody's saying, hey, my router in London is giving me trouble. They're saying, my MS Teams or my WebEx or my Insta, whatever is not, it's not loading and I'm having a poor experience. And so being able to talk and work in the same context as your users, as the application stakeholders, very important. Here we can ask a question about Netflix, Instagram, or WebEx. We're not talking about routers, IP addresses, and interfaces. Some further enhancements to those who've been using the product for some time. Now we have the ability to customize the tooltips in all of the charts. So before, sometimes when you'd resize the charts, the text would get a little bit wonky, or you're just not seeing the type of data that you want to see. So we've made a lot of improvements here to show the flow keys and metrics. This is across all the pie and bar charts. And like I said previously, it was difficult to identify. Now we just give you a lot more flexibility in how you want to show those tooltips, what you want to show in the tooltips, and yeah, so the readability, for example, on long fields, ASN, country, FQDN, and like I said before, the IPv6 address is a lot easier to see. This is just showing us here another example of how you can set up those tooltips. In this case, on the right-hand side, we've chosen application IP and client IP, and what we're looking at here is a flow report essentially, and it's just showing us the conversations that are occurring, and we can pick information, any of the metadata is collected to show up in the tooltip. So a lot easier. In the Sankey, for those of you who are using the Sankey diagrams, when you made those smaller and you kind of like squished it into a corner, it was just like really hard to read. And we've made a lot of improvements there in terms of the readability. Here you can see an example of the SAN key now. The text is crisp, is clear. You can see on the right-hand side, we have our applications and as well icons that go along with those applications. Just a little bit of fun. It's good for the user experience. Application bandwidth alerts. Lots of application stuff, right? So application bandwidth alerts. So we tell you without having to configure anything, we just take in your flow. We'll tell you what applications are in the network automatically, and we can alert on those applications automatically. So for example, if you want to understand if your traffic is abnormal or if you're getting errors, for example, there are ways to, well, in this case, bandwidth alerts, you want to understand if your traffic is abnormal, you can easily set an alert up against any of the applications that are automatically discovered in your flow. On top of that, you can also create your own application profiles using same information that you'd find in a flow tuple. So it could be IP addresses, a type of service, a port, et cetera. And you can set up your own application profile and have those alerted against as well. At this point, I'm just finishing up on the application-centric stuff. So again, one of the 3 pillars for SevOne.x, I'd say. And I want to turn it over to David to talk about some of the great things that we've done with our hybrid multi-cloud network visibility and Wi-Fi.
Thanks, Aaron. Let me quickly share. And we're off. So yeah, thanks for talking about all the application-centric features. I know a lot of them were heavily requested by a lot of people, so be a delightful change. So I'm here to talk about the hybrid multi-cloud network visibility enhancements in SevOne 7 and SevOne 1. So we've been on this journey, right, to kind of transform the software IBM SevOne to kind of monitor many different public clouds and at the same time improve on the number of integrations we offer as well. Starting on 6.5, we started with AWS with a limited set of metrics and out-of-the-box reports, but then we expanded that based on customer requests. We also added Azure monitoring as private preview in 6.7, and as of 7.0, Azure monitoring was generally available with five different resources supported. We made a lot of enhancements to our VeloCloud offerings as well. And as well as there's continuing work on enhancing the Viptela collector. And in 7.1, we've introduced the Wi-Fi plugin as a part of the NMS, introduced additional Versa metrics. VeloCloud plugin supports new metrics via API, and we also support VeloCloud Flow. And in addition, we've added a few resources to AWS to add to what we already monitored. I'm going to talk about all of these in a lot more detail. So today, the AWS services monitored include all of these resources. In this release, we've added Route 53 and Lambda functions. We've also added some metrics to Transit Gateway and Network Load Balancer, which I'm going to talk about in a bit. So what are Lambda functions, right? So if you think of applications, how they're designed today, a lot of users are starting to use serverless functions, which don't define the number of resources that your application might need. Like typically older applications were built on top of VMs that had defined hardware footprint. With serverless functions, you basically pretty much write code blocks that execute, they call Lambda functions, and you pretty much get charged on the number of invocations you have in your cloud environment. So it's really essential to kind of track how many invocations you're doing on each of the Lambda functions, because the hardware footprint is not in the equation right now. It's just elastic, and applications are simply built like a complex mix of several different Lambda functions. Different cloud providers have different offerings, but we're starting with AWS Lambda here, monitoring important metrics like invocations, rolled up Lambda metrics, and also several different metadata fields that you see here, right? We've also made updates to our out-of-the-box reports that can give you value right after the integration. Right after you've created the AWS integration, you can jump into Data Insight and consume all of these reports. So next, I'm going to talk about some new resources that we added, Route 53. So DNS is at the crux of many outages. So it's really important to monitor your Route 53 environment. monitor the health checks that you've set up from your Route 53 to different endpoints, and also to see if your resolver is functioning correctly, if it is deviated from the baseline at all. So we've added Route 53 to our offering. All you need to do is run the Terraform again during an upgrade, and you'd start seeing Route 53 data come in. And the out-of-the-box reports for these are shipped as a part of Data Insight. So no need to create these reports from scratch. You can simply copy this and enhance this if you'd like. Next up, we have network load balancers. Yes, we did support network load balancers, but we did not support the ability to report on each of the target groups. Now you can load balance traffic across different EC2 instances, across different direct connect gateways, but it's important to track where exactly your traffic is going, right? So we introduced this concept of dynamic objects on a per device level, so you don't really have to create new devices per target group, but instead just add objects to the existing network load balancer that already existed. So it doesn't really lead to device sprawl, but at the same time adds a lot more value to your troubleshooting workflows. And this was again like a heavily requested feature. Now, if you think of transit gateways are kind of your backbone when you're routing traffic across different regions in the cloud. And in previous releases, we were only collecting rolled up stats for transit gateways on a transit gateway level, but we weren't really giving you the ability to say like how much of my transit gateway traffic is going to VPC-A, VPC-B, or how much is it going to a particular direct connect location. That ability didn't exist. So with the concept of dynamic objects, we introduced transit gateway attachments as objects to existing transit gateways that allows you to kind of segregate traffic the way you'd like and really help you troubleshoot what exactly is going on with my VPC-B. Is there a security group that's preventing the traffic from reaching VPC-B? Or what's going on with my direct connect? Are the light levels down? Why is my traffic not going from transit gateway attachment to the direct connect? So you have several different new troubleshooting workflows unlocked by the introduction of this transit gateway attachment metrics. And lastly, tags collection, right? Many teams use different tags in public clouds. What I'm showing you here is an Azure environment where you have key value pairs that you define to kind of define ownership or segregate billing. Maybe in AWS, you have something like this to define tags on any particular resource. Here I'm showing you instances, but you could assign tags to even transit gateways or like any resource in your AWS environment. So what we've done in this release is we're giving you the ability to collect these tags as metadata. And what you can do with that is you can use metadata filters to kind of segregate different reports out. What I'm showing you here is a particular user used owner as the tag field. And you can simply add a filter for the owner in your data insight reports to filter on all the resources owned by a particular owner. But that could be anything, right? It could be billing accounts, it could be different teams handling different resources. You could use it the way you'd like. So that's a new change in 7.1. In summary, our public cloud monitoring portfolio includes the two major public clouds, AWS and Azure. We've introduced Lambda and Route 53 in this release. But if you do have like more resources in mind, we have a whole ideas process. Do submit an idea request, and we will take that into consideration. We're constantly expanding on the resources that we support for these public clouds. Next up, some SD-WAN improvements. We added new indicators to our Versa SD-WAN, up capacity percentage and down capacity percentage to kind of help our capacity planning engineers in planning their links out better. This was data that we were getting from the log files anyway, so we decided to add that in and get parity with our Victella SD-WAN offering as well. And if you think of VeloCloud started off with SNMP collection, but we quickly realized that there are a few metrics that are completely missing from SNMP. So we've added API-based collection as well. In the previous release, we introduced QoE scores on VeloCloud edges. Now in this release, we've added new metrics such as overcapacity drops and tunnel counts. And this came from one of a MSP request that found an outage based on these two metrics, right? The overcapacity drops were spiking up and the tunnel counts dropped down when the edges could not really handle the amount of traffic that it was receiving. So it's really important to track these metrics, not available via SNMP, but we're kind of doing a hybrid collection of API and SNMP in this case.
Actually,
right.
Dave, expand a little bit on the choice of using SNMP and API. I think that's a very interesting reason.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so whenever we tackle any new integration, we look at the quality of data being reported, right? Now, all of these vendors have like governors in place. So our engineering teams do vet out like what the quality of data would be if you were to do like API collection every 1 minute. But so that's why we look at the quality of data as a whole. Like, should we use SNMP for this quality of data? Is something missing from SNMP? Would the API collection add value? So in this case, we decided to start off with SNMP and then add the metrics missing via APIs. And that's something we will continue to do with new SD-WAN vendors as well.
That's great. Best of both worlds. Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Cool. Next up, I'll talk about VeloCloud Flow for a bit. So VeloCloud supports bidirectional flow. It is a little different from the unidirectional flow that we receive from many different devices. So there had to be some changes done to our collector to be able to like support that. So what we've done is we are now supporting bidirectional flows, so you don't have like the fake simulation on the other side. We also ship with 3 flow views out of the box that make use of some of the VeloCloud enterprise fields. And so they're just part of the NMS. You don't really need to run any import or anything. And all of the VeloCloud reports have been updated to include all of these new tabs that include the advanced tabs, the flow tabs, and the QoE scores. So what that allows you to do is you have all of these enterprise fields on the left, right? The VC app name, VC app category, VC flow type. That basically define the policies for your application. And you can create neat Sankey diagrams showing the application on the left side and figure out if the application is, if the app policy that you defined for application is actually processing that traffic based on the flow information that VeloCloud is giving you. And these Sankey diagrams can be arranged the way you want. You can like uncheck things if you don't like to see them there. But it really adds a lot of value to validate if VeloCloud is actually applying the policy that you defined. If the QoS policies you defined for specific flows are getting applied to that traffic or not. Next up, I'm going to talk about Wi-Fi plugin. So if you think of the pain points around the Wi-Fi plugin, right? The configuration of the Wi-Fi plugin was kind of built into the NMS. You used to use a lot of CLI, but we created a neat front end in the 7.1 release where you can simply go into the devices page and click on all the set of integrations where you basically set up your SNMP integrations as well. Wi-Fi is a new plugin in there. You can simply go in there and check on enable Wi-Fi plugin and set up the port frequencies, SNMP timeout, and that's it. Like that basically sets up your integration with your Wi-Fi collector. And so lots of improvements there. It's better performance as well, moving from the way we used to do collection previously, though that was sequential collection, and much more simplified configurations, right? And what's even better is for existing users of Wi-Fi, you don't really need to like do anything. You simply move to a 7.1 version and enable the Wi-Fi integration, and you continue to have the data that you had before, and the data will just resume collection in the new collector. For new users, it's a much easier workflow to kind of like get onboarded quickly and add all your access points quickly. So yeah, really welcome change here. And this kind of like is continuing on a theme of pluginization of several different collectors, right? We also had like several different external collectors that we're trying to work on, trying to make it like a plugin. So when you upgrade to newer versions, you simply get that value right out of the box.
Yeah, I just want to chime in and point out, like, I think this is it's a big deal, and it's a big deal for our customers moving towards the plugins. If you've been ever frustrated for any reason with some of the integrations or solutions before and getting them set up, I think you're going to find, as it says right there, it's a frustration-free packaging. We've really made great strides in improving this experience. So yeah,
absolutely. Next, I want to talk about expanded deployment options. So we've introduced GCP as a new supported deployment option. So we used to support AWS, Azure, and IBM Cloud before, and now our QA teams have tested GCP extensively as well. So what this involves is basically getting the OVA into a GCP bucket, and you simply create a VM with that image with the OVA. So in this document that I've pointed out here, it points out every single VPAS to like your GCP instance mapping, the kind of like infrastructure mapping that you might need. So do give it a read when you get a chance. But we're continually improving on our deployment options. If you see something's missing here, do submit an idea request, and that'll help us with our prioritization on expanding our deployment options to other public clouds or other platforms. Some core architectural changes as well on the NMS layer, where we're trying to eliminate the short-term data loss, right? Now, there was a lot of accidental data loss if the database was restarted incorrectly. So we've made some fundamental changes to how the short-term tables get written to the long-term tables and how they're stored. So what that results in the end is almost a 30-minute average reduction on any future 7.x upgrades, which is really notable, right? And that is based on tests on a fully loaded VPAS 200K. So that really, in large organizations that have several different tiers, this really has a significant impact on reducing the amount of time that you might take for upgrades. And we're always encouraging our customers to upgrade to versions beyond 7.0, because the upgrades have become much simpler, much quicker beyond 7.0 after the containerization efforts. So I think, yeah, that covers it. Like a lot of backend changes that I'm not going to get into, but in the end, it results in much faster upgrades, much more stable environment without data loss. Let's get into some data insight updates. So if you think of how SevOne was like with the folder structures, we had these folders on the left, all reports, all templates, favorites, very limited in functionality, I would say. And for a long time, we wished that we had the ability to create folders, add different reports to those folders, and kind of have like a modern iconography as well, right? So we've changed that. We've changed what these look like, and the new folder structure looks something like this, neatly categorized into different categories here. One is quick access. What quick access does is gives you like everything that you recently viewed as well, reports that have been shared with you, the reports that you've shared with others, and also the trash that is a carry forward. So if you've deleted any report by mistake, you can restore them, and you can see your scheduled reports in there. What we've also introduced is SevOne folders. So that is basically the set of out-of-the-box reports that the SevOne team will be shipping and updating every release, right? So you can see public cloud has 15 different reports in there, neatly categorized into AWS and Azure. So once you create an integration, you can jump from integrations to insights within minutes. You can simply create an integration and jump to data insight and start consuming those reports. You don't really have to start from scratch in building those reports. You can just create copies and enhance them the way you'd like. Another concept is around global folders. So I already spoke about quick access links. So global folders is for admins to define how organizations see the folders, right? So on a per tenant level, you could pretty much define what these global folders look like for each of your customers. You can define it the way you'd like. You can add specific reports that you care about in these global folders, and they may look different in different organizations. But basically, read-only access is available for non-admin users on global folders here, and admin users can like define what the global folder structure should look like. And lastly, did I talk about the personal folders? Personal folders still exist. You can create like new folders, add reports to them. Each user could like simply have their own reports in a personal folder. So what we're doing is we're making it much easier for you to find reports instead of jumping through several different pages. It's a much neater format of like looking at what SevOne is providing, quick access links to get to reports that I care about, and also giving the ability for users to create folders and even like subfolders to organize reports better. Next up, we have a new page for device summary. So if you know the NMS. NMS had a device summary page where you could get into any device and see all the objects belonging to that device in a click. It was denoted by a flash icon in the NMS. So it was a great feature. It had a quick detach function, but it had its limitation as well, right? Like you did not really have a way to visualize object metadata, or wasn't really available everywhere. You couldn't get from a report to a device summary. It was only from the device manager you could get to a device summary, and the detach could be confusing as well. So what we've done is we've moved the whole device summary page and kind of reinvented it as well in Data Insight. So from the device manager page, you could get to a device summary. We've retained the flash icon that you used to, and the device summary page looks something like this. So what this does is in every report that you have, you'd be able to have a link to this device summary page. And if there are tenants that you don't wish to enable this on, these can be disabled as well if you'd like. But by default, every report will link to the device summary, and a user will be able to just click on the device and get to this device summary page in a click, while retaining all of the other links that you had here as well. Like it's not really getting rid of any of the older links that you had. It's just adding to the links that you had created for the device. So really neat change. If you want to visualize all your objects in one go, like you simply click on the device page, device summary, and it gives you all the objects in there. And you can see we've used kind of different widgets for different visualizations, like CPU had gauges, and in-out objects have like performance metric widgets. So if you have alerts, you can visualize all the alerts as well in one page. Kind of continuing on our One UI journey. Now, I just want to touch on some automated actions that you can take, right? Like SevOne is collecting a lot of data, but you can take a lot of automated actions based on that. So you can use Seno, which is RNA with SevOne to kind of automate a lot of network workflows. So what Seno is it's kind of like a trade-off program where SevOne is one component and RNA. You combine RNA and SevOne to really create like an automated network observability. So we have a dozen of pre-built workflow templates in the IBM Tech Zone community. You can reduce a lot of repetitive tasks through different automation templates that you can create, and also leverage self-service APIs, right? What if there's a vendor that SevOne doesn't support in product, but I want to get that data into SevOne? Then you could pretty much use the self-service APIs for data extraction and get that data written to SevOne.
Yeah, so, and that might be a new term for some of our attendees here. So SANO is it stands for SevOne Automated Network Observability, and like David said, it's a combination of RNA and SevOne together, licensed together. So if that is something that is of interest in automating either existing things that you've automated now or new, you can contact your account team for that. Yeah,
absolutely. And it has thousands of action blocks. So if you think of any APIs that exist in the web, right? For example, GCP, Prisma, SD-WAN, all of those action blocks exist. You can create like new workflows to collect data, reach out to those APIs and start collecting data if you wish, or you could do actions as well based on what you find from SevOne. Like, did an alert trigger for a particular thing? Can I take some action based on that? Does ServiceNow need to do something based on a particular alert? This can be kind of like your automation engine that allows you to create if-else cases, or pretty much like a whole programmatic workflow around automating anything that you would ideally do in Ansible or any other platform. It does have a 15-day business SLA. So if you see action blocks that are missing from the list that is provided in RNA, we can add that in. You can simply create a support case to add those action blocks in, and within 15 days, you should see those action blocks in there. Lastly, I want to summarize everything that we've delivered in SevOne. I spoke about the new device summary page that you can link out to from any report to give a quick device summary with all the objects for a particular device, all the alerts related to a device. GCP deployment option is a new option for deployment of NMS, BI, or solutions. All of our documentations have been updated to that. Aaron spoke about a lot about application flow reports, that some application flow reports are just out of the box in those DI folders that I showed earlier. We also have neat report folder structures now that allow users to create folders as well for specific organizations if they wish, and also gives SevOne the ability to ship out of the box reports that add value to users that create integrations. We have much faster upgrades and many changes on the replication, how replication occurs between peers. Self-mon is now automatically installed for different peers, so that is a new change. We have Route 53, Lambda, Transit Gateway, and Network Load Balancers as new metrics in AWS front. Lots of stability improvements overall with several bug fixes. And we made several different improvements to our Wi-Fi plugin as well by making it part of the NMS. So when you upgrade your NMS now, you get all of the new functionality quickly. You don't really have to create or maintain a separate upgrade cycle. We added new metrics to Versa SD-WAN and VeloCloud as well. We have multi-tenant vManage support in this release on our external with Tela collectors. And lastly, I just want to touch upon streaming telemetry private preview, which I have not really discussed here a lot, but we are supporting GNMI, and we're looking for customers to sign up to our private preview program, where we've started basically supporting OpenConfig interfaces and OpenConfig system Yang models. So if you're interested in participating in that private preview program, do reach out to me directly, and we can get you set up, and we can show where we are headed in terms of streaming telemetry as well. And lastly, I want to emphasize on the fact of ideas, right? Like the product team looks at the IBM Ideas portal like periodically. We use this for a prioritization and planning of our roadmap as well. So all you need is an IBM ID. You simply go to ideas.ibm.com and submit any idea that you have for product enhancement. The product team either marks it under review, they mark it as planned for future release if we plan on releasing it in the near term. And when it's done, we mark it as delivered as well. So if you have any requests around enhancements that you'd like in the product, do use this portal. The product team does look at this very often. And please join the IBM SevOne community as well. This is a forum where you can discuss with your other peers, like how you're using SevOne in the discussions tab. A lot of PMs and product marketing publishes blog posts around new features here as well. And several events that IBM SevOne plans are posted in here as well. Also, you can find a lot of automation workflows that I mentioned earlier in this page. So do join this community. And that's about it. Thank you all for joining, and I hope you found this session informative. Thanks.
Thank you guys very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.